Tonight, we will be going over issue number 1 of Spider-Man and Wolverine. I don't know if this is a miniseries or not. I know that currently they are up to like issue 9 or something of it. They're on the second story arc, so I'm pretty sure it's a ongoing. So it's a pretty cool cover. I'm not crazy about the artist necessarily, but it's not terrible. It's not bad. It works. So I'm not going to be too hard on it. But here we have, it opens with Wolverine taking out what appears to be Hydra robots. When we find out that they are indeed Hydra robots in Germany, he's meeting some old friend of his, I guess, named Bill. And he gives Wolverine information. He says, "Hey, you remember the Janus protocols or directives, I think they called them." And Wolverine's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I thought they were a myth." He said they were supposed to be files that had every single undercover assassination, like all your top secret operatives. It revealed their identities, who they killed, all that stuff. So Bill was like, this is going to come back and hurt a lot of people if this information gets out. A lot of people, it's going to change how the public feels about them. It's going to change, families, how they deal with this stuff. And of course, Wolverine himself acknowledges that he has done some things that he didn't agree with under the say-so of Red Skull. So Wolverine's out to destroy those files. This is an alternate cover for it. This was way, way better. But so now we get to Spider-Man. Spider-Man's going to meet. He's late for a date with his. I don't know what she is anymore. One minute they're boyfriend girlfriend, the next he's saying he hadn't gotten that far. Who knows? But this Shay is her name. She is about the most boringest Spider-Man character I think they've ever created. But once again, I can get into a long Spider-Man rant about how bad they're destroying him. But this right here, replacing Mary Jane with this, somebody don't get Spider-Man. Somebody in Marvel editorial is over the wrong character. They don't know what they're doing. They must have got the job but had never read a Spider-Man comic book in their life. But anyway, she was kind of teasing him a little about how he's always late, and she blames it on, I can't remember, something, and he comes up with some, I won't say a lie because it's the truth, but it sounds like a lie to her. It's an example of you're always using these crazy excuses on what's going on. So he's like, yeah, he's like, you can blame it on my mom and dad who were undercover agents who got killed, lottie lottie, and she kind of laughs it off, but that was what really happened with him. But anyway, Wolverine comes pulling up and interrupts the date and says, "Hey, I need you to come with me." and he runs off with Wolverine, and Wolverine tells him what they're looking for, so forth, and Spider-Man's like, why did it take you so long to look at the relic shield helicarrier? If you're talking shield files, this should have been one of the first places you thought to go to. So they're going to go on board, and Spider-Man's like, what do you even need me for anyway? And Wolverine's like, well, you're a dork. I need you to overwrite the program and get rid of them. Well, they get attacked by Kraven and Omega Red. So we're going to stop here a moment. I don't know why this team up never existed before. I hadn't even thought of it, but this was actually a good team, especially with two characters like Spider-Man and Wolverine who are working together. This was a good choice of villains for them because I feel like they're not the top tier villains, but they're getting a little push. They're not the bottom rate villains at all. But these are both characters from Spider-Man and Wolverine that can either be wrote really bad or wrote really good. They got a flip-flop history. So Spider-Man's like, let's make this fun. I'll take your villain, you take mine. And Wolverine's like, well, I've already fought yours before, and he did during the Krakoa age. I think it was the Judgment Day tie-ins. I think Kraven went and was hunting Wolverine. So you got your little classic fights here. I mean, there's not a lot of moving for story wise. It's a lot of action being filled in, and it's very satisfactory action. The Spider-Man and Omega Red fight is, I think, this is the first time these two have met each other, at least in the regular universe. I don't count the old Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. I'm a little confused though because they never mention Omega Red with his death spores here. I mean, that's his main ability. So I'm a little confused on why he never uses it. But Kraven ends up pulling out a rocket launcher, shoots it at Wolverine. Wolverine reflects the rocket somehow. I mean, this is just pure 90s. That's what this is. This is a love letter to the 90s. I mean, only in the 90s would you see something as silly as Wolverine's claws deflecting a rocket out of a rocket launcher. And they blow half the helicarrier loose. Wolverine gets buried under all the debris. And when he unburies himself, he comes out of a grave that is a dark parody of the one that Peter dug out of with Kraven's last hunt. And we switch over to Peter, and he's running around with the Weapon X helmet and stuff on. He's got claws like Wolverine. So somebody's taking him through the worst times of each other's lives, and they're putting the opposite one in its place. You've got here, you got Mariko being killed. You got Peter fighting the bear, where Wolverine had to. Mariko is on the bridge, and Green Goblin knocks her off. Wolverine goes to grab her, and ends up, her neck ends up snapping. You got Spider-Man fighting Shingen or whatever his name is, Mariko's father, for the honor to marry Mariko. That Spider-Man's doing that. You've got this little mixture here. This is a Spider-Man reliving Fatal Attractions when Wolverine had the adamantium pulled out of him. This is a tribute to an old classic cover of Amazing Spider-Man where, he was holding up the weight of a building or something. This is the tribute cover to Uncanny X-Men 251 where they had Wolverine up on a big X, the Reavers. This is a tribute to the introduction of Venom in Amazing Spider-Man 300. And this, of course, is a tribute to Peter's having to relive Wolverine dying when he got covered in adamantium and it took him out for a long while. So once they finally get their wits about him and figure out they're being played, they manage to push past it all. And Peter's like, I don't know why I didn't realize this sooner. He's like, I need you to catch a whiff of this and that. And Wolverine's like, yes, it's up on the bridge. Spider-Man's like, well, here, you play with him a little while. I got to go up here and see to this. Of course, Mysterio's involved with it. So Kraven, Omega Red, and Mysterio are after the same files. So Spider-Man ends up taking out Mysterio pretty easy like he usually does. Wolverine's down here fighting Kraven and Omega Red, which Omega Red by himself should be a handful for Wolverine. He's defeated Wolverine a handful of times just by himself. But Peter's in there trying to delete the files and it's running through the names. And he runs into his mama and daddy's name, which he proceeds to read the file, play the file, and it shows them back on the airplane right before their death, and it shows that Wolverine was on the plane, and it pretty much hints off that Wolverine was the one that caused the plane to crash and killed Peter and Peter's parents. So Wolverine is just taking out Kraven and Omega Red. He meets up with Spider-Man, who proceeds to knock him out or knock him down, and Peter is irate now. So there's going to be a big giant confrontation between the two. Next issue, it looks like if Wolverine did kill Peter's parents, this cannot go over very well. This has always been a touchy thing for Spider-Man and previously in Spider-Man titles. So, yeah, as you can see here, they're getting ready to battle in issue 2. We'll see how far the battle goes. Marvel likes to pull its punches a lot and advertise it more than it is, but we'll review issue 2 soon enough and see. Right now, I want to focus on summing up this issue. The art, like I said, I'm not 100% crazy about this art, but it's not bad art either. Like, it's not what I would want, what I would usually want, but it works for this book. You're going with the 90s. The 90s you had top tier people like Jim Lee drawing X-Men, and then you had your goofy stuff, in some of them other series. You know what I mean? Like this, I let a lot of the art go on this just because I actually besides when they brought up the boring girlfriend thing for Spider-Man, this was a this was a good modern book. Spider-Man was interesting in this. He was like, he had the humor. He had the just the wild ideas of them switching villains and stuff. I mean, it's a fun book, and that's what Marvel has been missing with Spider-Man a lot lately is making the book fun to read again. And I think this book gets a lot of things right with Spider-Man, but they're chained down by the stuff that everybody's getting wrong in the other Spider-Man books, like the girlfriend thing. Like, if you're going to use Peter's dating life in this book, you have to utilize what the other crappy books are doing right now. So that's my only negative about this issue is it's being weighed down by this whoever this Marvel editor is that has zero idea of what what Spider-Man is all about. The sooner Marvel gets their head on their shoulders and brings in somebody that actually knows what makes these characters who they are, the sooner they're going to get out of the hole they're in. So overall, the art, I'll give the art. I mean, like I said, it's not great art, but it's good enough. I give it a 7 on art. It was never any time where I looked at it and I said, "Man, that's crazy bad art." But there's no time I ever looked at it and said, "Hey, you know what? Maybe this is okay art." I mean, maybe this is great art. It's always it serves the purpose. It's okay. Uh, Story wise, I'm going to give this an 8.5. I had a lot of fun with it. Once you got past the stupid girlfriend stuff that didn't need to be in there. I mean, it did need to be in there, dude, because that was Peter's big thing forever and ever. Was he could never devote time to what he wanted to do because he was always being pulled away to something else and have to make up some stupid excuse why he'd have to leave. So that's kind of part of Peter's character. So I guess it did need to be in there, but I'm not a fan of the way it worked out. Uh, but the story itself, the setup, the premise, I mean, it's got a good idea that it's working on now. This was a pretty big cliffhanger ending. If Wolverine really did kill Spider-Man's parents, that's a huge dynamic. But we just seen Mysterio involved, so who knows what's being twisted where. So, all in all, like I said, overall, I will give this issue a solid 8.5. This was a very, very good start to what could be a phenomenal series. So do yourself a favor, read this #1, buy it, read it off Marvel Unlimited, however you can read it. But this was well worth the time. This is a modern Spider-Man book that actually is not bad. So I will be back with you with issue #2.